Hi, I'm Seamless, and today I'm trying something new with recording regarding using XSplit. I hope it works. And if you're seeing this, it means it worked. Yay. So today I'm going to talk to you about a particular way, two things that Harmor can do and that you can use to do neat things, and not necessarily just for base design, but I mean I use it for base design because that's what I do. I do base things. So it has to do with the idea of a wavetable. Now, I say the idea of a wavetable because it's not actually a wavetable what we're going to do. It's more akin to what's referred to as wave scanning. A wavetable, when I say that term wavetable, it conjures up the initials WT, and when I say that, that should probably bring up the idea of massive to you, and that's accurate because massive uses wavetables. And the wavetable, what that is that it's a collection of static waveforms that you crossfade in between, and there's hundreds of them, and you move through them, and they create a larger, cohesive modulated sound. And then massive usually has more than just a dimension. That is to say that it's not just from A to B. It's also A to B with some C values and maybe some D values on your movement. And that's what that is. Today we're really only doing A to B, and it has to do with what Harmor can do with single cycle waveforms. So first off, let's get some single cycle stuff. And to do that, open up Edison, speaking, I'm talking still, making sounds. Open up Edison, let's go get some vocals.
Oh, are you here? Oh, are you here
This is very clear format differences.
Oh, are you here to move?
You may have noticed that recently I turned off the spectral view, and that's because I've been doing this a lot. It helps not to have that kind of stuff in the way. So, as you can see here, there's kind of clear repetitions of the waveform that you can easily identify as being a single cycle of the sound that we're making. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select, just kind of loosely select. And it kind of sounds like a moment of that chick saying "oh," like we were doing here. And now, this is a new Harmor I got here. You can take this, you can drag it, into the wave shape thing up here, and it will actually, it'll synthesize additively that sound by changing the harmonic partial amplitude and also phase, and by doing that it will create the sound. Which is all well and cool. However, I discovered recently, this is actually something that you've been able to do since the beginning, but I didn't know this until recently, so someone pointed out to me, that if you click and drag and then hold shift when you're dropping it into Harmor and drop it into the image section, it will actually load into the image section, which will effectively do the same thing. Now, why would you do that? Well, it is actually the same thing. Like, if I had just played this versus with the other one, it would make the same sound. But now I can add in another one. Like, say, the next vowel that the lady making this voice does. I can take that, shift and click, and drop it, and now it's in there too. And now you can crossfade between one and the other by taking speed down, bringing smooth all the way off, playing a note. And then if I wanted to, I can even get a third and a fourth and a fifth and just so many, different sounds.
Here to move. Oh, are you here?
Get some he sounds going on up here. Let's do that. Whoa, too far. You can get pretty far in Edison. If you're wondering what we were just looking at there, that was actually the sample points of the signal. Dupe. So now we have some kind of, we have our own little wave scanning morph going on there with, 3 waves, which is not a very complicated wave setup, but there it is. So, right off the bat though, it doesn't really sound like a very impressive sound, but what's cool is that this adds an additional layer of coloring to the sound, which can lead to cooler things. Like, I have this example up here. This is actually one of the basses that I used in Calibrate, my latest track. This is the unaffected, like there's no effects on it, so like there's no EQ or compression. I mean, it's some compression, but what we're actually looking at here is a whole bunch of signal cycles that it was from my own recorded voice that I chopped up and brought up in here. And I only really use these two here. I guess these three here. The rest kind of sounded not as great, but that particular moment sounded pretty great to me. But the rest of the stuff that I did was, applying the other techniques that I've been talking about all these months with Harmor. So if I wanted to do that with this sound, a couple things that I would do. So first of all, because this is, if you notice how if I want a hertz view, there's absolutely no action going on at the higher frequencies. As opposed to octave view, kind of weights it differently. But the point being, this mix knob here mixes between the basic saw wave sound, the main additives to the sound, and the image sound. So I bring in a little bit just to fill in the gaps a little bit, just a tiny bit, because the gaps are what creates the character of the sound. So we don't want to completely wash them up, but we do want to keep that there. I could, even if I wanted to, I could get rid of that entirely, or get rid of this entirely, engage B, and then go into local EQ in B, and then just take everything out except the highs. So now it's a little bit more balanced. But for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to use the mix knob here. Can also gauge harmonic protection on the lowest end so that the fundamental is always heard. That's pretty important for the kind of effects that I like to do on it, like unison-based effects. Now, these are all things I talked about before. Now, actually, just before we get into the color, making the sound something usable, I want to talk about what happens when we use the sound versus when we lowered the sound. So, like, that's the sound that we were using by default, and then when we lowered it, it obviously made it sound lower. But we can also engage the format knob here, turn on the mix-up. So now, when we move around in pitches, the pitches they do actually make it goes lower in pitch, but the format sound still stays where it was, which is sometimes cool, except that I feel that it stays up too high, especially when we're using a female type vocal like we are in this particular example. The formats are too high to be used for the bass sound, so maybe we can either just not use it, or we can crush the formats down hugely by bringing the knob down and then also bringing the format mutation all the way down. Or we can do a little bit half and half. We have pitch-based format movement up there and a little bit of the format protection, I guess. Format protection. And I find that helps to accentuate the sound just a little bit. So let's go back to doing what we were doing. I think maybe the thing I was doing in unison was just a tad bit too extreme. But you know how I like that extremeness. Now, this wouldn't sound that different if I had kept it. Now, again, like I said before, doing the wavetable kind of stacking thing here really just lends it to give you additional kind of morphing, like layered coloring of the sound. Like it wasn't, at least the ones that I chose to show you this example. You could do more extreme sounding ones that aren't just like a vocal sound or something.
All right.
Like, let's add another Harmor. You can, like, even if I were to actually, I did this by accident once, but if I took a hat sound, like a really short hat. Come on, I want a small, stupid. Here, fine, let's go to, nope. The other V, there we go. That. Despite the fact that that's an entire sound, not just a single cycle, it interpreted it as a single cycle, and it determined what the harmonics were based on that information. Which weren't much, as you can see. It's all very high frequency stuff. I had to bring in the protection of the fundamental for it to play it. You had to play it very, very low before. I had the form of protection engaged. As you can see, but if I were to bring in, say, actually, let's go into slice beats, which has some of my old, stupid bass sounds. All right. Let's load that into Edison for a second. So these single cycles are huge in comparison to the vocal stuff that we're doing because they're lower frequencies. So I can bring this in, clear this, boink, and then bring that one in. Bring like one of these in. What else we got in here? Bring this guy in. That looks like a single cycle. I'm just kind of bullshitting it right now, but yeah, it's probably not what original sound, but whatever. I'm just messing around right now, not really showing you anything useful, but I want to bring to your attention that this is something that you could do, and I had to work at it a little bit to make it something a little bit usable, and but it wasn't something that I knew about. This was actually something that Goal, the developer on the ImageLive forums that made Harmor, pointed out like when Harmor came out, but I wasn't paying attention back then, so I wasn't aware of this. So someone pointed out to me fairly recently, and I went straight to it, and I made some sounds that worked for things. So yeah, if you have any questions, let me know, and I'll try to answer them. And as usual, have a nice day.